This week's edition contains strong language.
Tonight we meet Lee Harvey Oswald, Sid Vicious, Beethoven and Dracula, in a manner of speaking. Hello, Gary Oldman is one of the most respected and popular British actors of his generation. After several years in the theatre, he embarked on a film career which has taken him from gritty TV films like Meantime and The Firm to spectacular Hollywood blockbusters like Dracula and, more recently, Air Force One. Now a veteran of 21 films, he's soon to be seen as Dr. Zachary Smith in Lost in Space. Last year, Oldman fulfilled a long-standing ambition by writing and directing his own movie, Nil by Mouth. It was one of the most unexpected critical hits of the year, gathering many awards including Best Actress at Cannes for Kathy Burke. In this film by Daniel Wiles, we see how the complications of Gary Oldman's early life in South London are reflected in the intense energy of his acting, writing and directing.
I'm quite happy in my own company, living up here in my head.
I sort of found him a bit strange, really. I couldn't work him out at first.
I'm all white. You all white. He's a killer. He's dangerous.
You're in big fucking trouble, you are!
Gary isn't like that at all, really.
And I don't like seeing people who let me down, because it gets me mad!
He's a rebel. He's on fire. He's a destructive, crazy man.
Yeti!
You knew that there was something bubbling away there, and you were never quite sure what it was.
His emotions were right on the surface of his skin, like a 15 million volt wire that had been cut.
She's your fun looking man! Why is she something else?
I'd read in the papers about torment and terrible problems.
A wicked boy. A heartless boy. A boy who never ate his rice pudding.
I worried occasionally that he was driving himself too hard.
All right, hands up!
I've always said to him, you'll make it, and one day you'll get an Oscar. And I still believe that.
From Hatcham Park Road to Hollywood, it's been a tough journey. I'm a happy captive of California at the moment. It's not too bad, is it?
Gary Oldman was born and brought up in New Cross in southeast London, where his mother lived for over 40 years before going to join him in California.
1958. I was born number 10 Hatcham Park Road, and I was born upstairs in that bedroom up there. And a couple of months later, we moved across the street here to number 3, and I stayed here for the best part of 10 years. It hasn't changed a great deal. There's a few more trees. And they've prettied it up a bit.
When Oldman recently decided to put his acting career on hold to write and direct his first movie, he set it in the streets where he grew up.
What do you think you're going? It floats!
How did Nil by Mouth come about? Why did you want to direct a film, and direct a film which is so very personal, which brings you back almost literally to this pub that we're sitting talking in now? Well, literally, some scenes were shot in here.
I hadn't quite focused in on what it was or what it was going to be about, but I knew it was going to come back. I knew it was going to take place here, and I was going to come back to London. I was going to and specifically come back to South London,
and even more specifically to New Cross.
And yeah. And I started to write, in fact, about the boy, the heroin addict in the film. I started to write about Billy, and then there was a scene where he went to his mum's, and I started to write the mother, and I thought, God, these women's voices, these women are interesting.
Billy boy, get your ass in here!
You've got some front coming round here. Ray's on his way round. He's just come off the phone and he sounds boozed.
Yeah, so?
Well, he's fucked off, hasn't he? He's got the over that picture.
What picture?
You walked off with his mum's picture. What you told me?
What are you laughing at?
I told him Ray's upset about that picture. We've had murders over that, you little git.
It was so important to me to do this authentically, with no sentimentality. Or you get movies and it all comes together so wonderfully at the end, and often structure is just the same old structure of storytelling, and it's all wrapped up in ribbons and bows and sort of handed to you, and life isn't like that.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. You can't, I'm not a queer, I state my case, of which I'm certain.
Oldman's critically acclaimed performance as Sid Vicious was the first of a number of vivid biographical portrayals.
You are a communist, are you not?
No, Mr. Bringier. I am not a communist. I'm Marxist-Leninist.
Oh, here he comes! Get ready! Is there anything you want to say in your defense?
Now, this is dead sentimental. Nice bum.
He heard that.
So what? Now you're shy.
Someone once said of him that he was rather like a suit, hanging in a cupboard, waiting to be worn. And that sort of sounds rather negative, but actually when you think about it, it's quite a flattering thing to say, because he's not a star in that way. He doesn't want to play Gary Oldman all the time. He actually tries to put himself into the character.
What's your name? What do you mean, what's my name?
Mine's Kevin.
Mine's Howard.
Howard? That's a fancy name.
Well, Patrick, then.
Oh, Catholic, are you? What do you do?
I don't know. What do you do?
I'm a fitter, car components.
I'm a dog handler.
On an individual basis, or are you a tool of a large organisation?
I'm so shit scared, I don't know if I'd be able to do anything. We don't want to let this make us late for the proms.
Listen, sweetheart, which do you prefer, him or Sir Malcolm Sargent?
When you cast somebody, that's the most important decision you make. The fact that he turned himself into Joe in some rather remarkable sort of act of transformation, that wasn't part of my plan. That wasn't what I expected. And in an odd sort of way, it was rather dislocating because I hadn't intended... You know, when you make films about real people, it's always rather confusing about where you draw the line and what's right and what isn't.
I made you.
Listen to the dialogue, dear. I'm not Eliza fucking Doolittle. I made myself.
These are my books.
I'd see you all right.
I taught you.
I taught you too.
What? After going to a public lavatory?
Anyway, if it hadn't have been you, it would have been someone else. Sleep on it.
Oh.
I could give you a wank.
But he started, in the course of filming it, he started to resemble it more and more until it became this extraordinary similarity.
Are you an actor who really does try to inhabit the part in the sense of, well, what do you do? I mean, let's take Prick Up Your Ears. What did you do, as it were, to be Joe Orton? Because you're not only playing a part, which is one thing, you're also playing a part who is a a real person who has a real biography. So, in a sense, that's a double-barreled enterprise, isn't it?
Yeah. There are certain limitations to it, and there's a creative kind of framework that you have to work within, more so than if you were just playing a fictional character. But with that, that has a great advantage because there's literature, and there are invariably there are the family and relatives. So you can get a very comprehensive picture of the character.
I mean, can you sort of turn it on and turn it off, as Olivier used to say he could do?
I think if you do the work and the work is there, that's a lot of it you do. It's what I call bedroom acting. You know, you have to do a lot of it in your kitchen. And in film, you get very little rehearsal, so you sort of have to do it at home. And then you come in. But once you've laid the groundwork for all of that, and you've done the work, then I think you just should be able to switch it on and off.
Let me show you. You shall be a musician.
I want to be a soldier.
A composer?
No, a soldier.
Oh. I gave my first concert when I was your age. I was terrible.
I didn't read hundreds of books on him. I just immersed myself in the music and, of course, the piano playing. I was at the Mayfair Hotel, chained to a Steinway for, 6 hours a day, And I love it when I got one review of me, it said I mime quite well. I'm playing it. I can play that.
Taken you about 7 or 8 there. Taken in the front room in number 10. So wonder your hair isn't sticking up at the back because you used to do that with it.
And how old was I there?
Oh, I don't know, about 8 months, I think. You weren't very old, you was only a baby. It's good, isn't it? That one there's a bit dilapidated now. That's a cowboy outfit Jackie bought you. Do you remember it?
You knitted that?
Yes, I knitted all your pullovers, yeah.
Underwear, the whole
Not
thing.
the underwear, stupid.
Look, I've been at the chocolates there. Horrible picture.
God,
Although I was,
yeah.
I loved that shirt.
You were quite fair too there.
Yeah, that was the first year at college.
And that one was taken in Gamages just before we went to Jamaica to see Dad. And they had a mock plane, and because you wanted to sit there and put the cap on and the epaulettes and sit there and have it taken.
I wanted to be a pilot at one time, and I
Right.
realised that you needed math and physics.
Yeah. Then you wanted to be an astronaut. When I stood you on the sink to wash your legs, you said, I'm afraid of heights. So you didn't get to become an astronaut, did you?
No. That's sweet, though.
Yeah. But you're cuddly. You still are.
Thank you, Mother.
I used to sing, like during the war years, entertaining troops and hospitals and that. My father ran a concert party. The favourite song was Can't Help Loving That Man. And Gary wanted me to sing it. And he got like Edna Dorey, that was playing the part, to sing to my voice.
Fish gotta swim and birds gotta fly. I've got to love one man till I die. Can't help loving that man of mine.
Your father's an alcoholic, is that right?
Yeah. He sat over there at that bar most nights. He wasn't violent. He would come here and he would drink and he would come home and he would fall asleep.
Was that the main reason you think that they split up when you were about 7?
No, he met another woman, and he ran off with his best friend's wife. He was a pipe fitter and a welder, and he used to get these sort of contracts abroad. He was out in Jamaica. I would have been, 7. And we went to Jamaica, and we stayed there. I spent about 6 months there. And I saw him once in 6 months. And we were just in a different part. We were in Christiana, and my father was working near Montego Bay. So it was quite a journey. And I remember the promises. I'll promise to come and see you. And I would wait at the end of the end of the driveway from the hotel, the Villa Bella Hotel, and I would just wait all day for that car to turn into the drive, and it never did.
And he'd promised things, Promised to take us places, Never did. Never took us anywhere. And when he did bother to come home, he'd sit in that fucking chair, doss off with his trannies there, right? And I'd just stand there looking at him. I'm looking at his face.
A strange jump, isn't it, from around these streets to think about becoming an actor. It isn't just I would imagine it just isn't on the radar of what everybody else is doing.
My world was movies and television. I'd never been to the theatre, never seen a play. I was just finding my way, and I had it in my head that I was going to be a classical pianist. So we went to Peckham and we bought a second-hand piano for 10 quid, and I had a little old lady up the road who gave piano lessons, and I started there, and then I went to the Blackheath Conservatoire, and I started to play, and I got up to a very good level, and I started to play Chopin pieces. But in a way, I was acting, playing a concert pianist. I did boxing. I was terrible. But in the gym, I was fantastic with the rope and the mirror, and I walked in and started shadow boxing, and the manager of the club, I was 14, and he probably thought, the kid's a natural. You know what I mean? Like, look, he's brilliant, the geezer. I was acting, being the boxer. And I got in the ring, and of course I had a couple of bouts and got my head smashed in, and I thought, I don't think I want to do this for a living, it hurts. I thought, I'll go and do something else.
The turning point came when Oldman joined a local amateur theatre group, where he met Roger Williams.
At the time he was working in a sports shop in Lewisham, and very frustrated by that. We would go to concerts and plays, and he was actually a very exciting person to go to the theatre or to a concert with, because he missed nothing.
But he was the one person that sort of took me under his wing, so to speak, and it was like someone opening the curtains on the world. Just pushing back the shutters and saying, "There's all. Look at this. This is all out there."
Gary had ambition to go to only one drama college, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
RADA.
I auditioned for RADA, and they said, think about something else to do for a living.
As bad as that, was it?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Yes.
You have no talent. No talent whatsoever.
I still want to learn.
Bravo!
I then suggested the more local Rose Bruford College in Sidcup in Kent.
He fixed up an audition for me at Rose Bruford, And that was complicated in itself because it was a degree course and you needed A levels. And, you know, my technical drawing wasn't going to sort of get me through. So he pulled a few strings, I think, and they told me, they auditioned me, and I got in, and as they say, the rest is history.
My recollection of Gary is somebody who was very much a loner. You never got the impression that he was always involved in, you know, the cliques that happen at drama schools and so forth.
It was a very strange world because we would do things like dance classes, and we would wear tights. And I had never seen men in tights.
I directed him in Hotel Baltimore, and he had an enormous sort of sincerity and truthfulness, which was very impressive. One always got the impression that Gary was somebody who could communicate to an audience, but somehow was not terribly concerned about communicating with his immediate colleagues. I mean, it's a strange combination.
Did you enjoy filming in? Last year, Gary Oldman went back to Rose Bruford to talk to some of the students.
I mean, you can see people on stage or film, whatever, and there is a difference between, if you like, a good actor and someone just doing their job. So how do you really arrive at bringing the real truth and honesty to a role?
When you go into this profession, there maybe are some things about yourself and stuff that you've pushed away that you know, you kind of have to dig up, you know. My analogy of it is that it's like a snow shaker, and that you go into work and you take all these emotions and you just shake them, you know. And I think that's why for a lot of people, you know, it's a very strange job, you know, where you go in and you do that.
Well. Hey! That's my fucking brother you're talking about, eh?
There is a fantastic quote by the American teacher, Meisner, who said that acting was living truthfully under imaginary circumstances.
Yeah.
Don't turn your back on me.
I ain't turning me back. I'm getting a drink and all. I ain't exactly fucking running away. I'm going to eat your nagging boys wherever I fucking go.
Yeah, too right.
Look, it's late. You're tired, etc., etc., etc. I said I am sorry. You know, I am sorry. I'm more sorry than you know.
How much do you feel your training prepared you for the real world?
There are certain things that you can learn here. One of them is application, and just you can learn discipline because you need it, you know. I was the first person in my year to really get my act together in terms of writing letters. I was the first person in my year to have my picture taken. I was the first person in my year to send those pictures and letters off to... I was the first person to get an audition, and subsequently the first person to get an equity card. That's nothing to do with me being better than someone else. That's just diligence and application.
After Rose Bruford, Oldman spent several years with some of the country's leading theatre companies, including the Royal Court.
2 teas, please, miss. 3 if you count yourself.
I beg pardon, sir. Standing orders, cell block and interview wing. None of the paddies are to be left unsupervised. 1 uniformed officer to be present at all times. Protection of interviewing officer.
This animal bites, does it? The human clam has teeth.
More from complaints, sir. Repressive treatment, brutalisation.
I see. Standing order, cell block and interviewing. Tell me, does that apply to all interviewing officers from visiting forces, or just those from the RUC?
I couldn't say, sir.
What I found was in the theatre, the most exciting thing was getting the phone call. You know, that's the great thing. So you pick up the phone and the agent calls and you go, "I'm playing Hamlet," and you go, "Wow, God, God, I got that part. You know, I'm doing, you know, whatever. I'm doing Hamlet. Fantastic. Yeah, great. Okay, I'll call you back. Fuck, I'm doing Hamlet. You know, and then you've got all that work, and then you've got to get out there, you know, night after night after night, and sort of do it. And I found that a little repetitious.
I always felt that TV and film would really be his métier, because there you can be so concerned with the inner person. You don't need to communicate that to whatever it is, 50, 100 yards away. You've got a camera that can do that for you. Going into films was no surprise to me at all. It was his natural home.
Will you a joke? What's the difference between the colonel...
Come vet inga vad. Dirty peeled ras, yo.
I'll have you. Come then. Kick it up.
I discovered that I enjoyed movie acting better than I liked theatre acting. So I moved to where they made movies, because they weren't making them here. Hollywood.
Check this out.
What the fuck is that?
On and off, I've spent the last 10, 11 years living in America, and, you know, 9 of those years have been living in New York, which is a city that, you know, that I love.
In New York, Oldman began to establish his American reputation with films like State of Grace, in which he plays an Irish-American hoodlum.
You take your hands and you take your gun, but you put the prints on the gun, you stash it. The cops find the gun. They're looking for a dead man.
This is somebody's hands?
Yeah.
What are you touching them for?
Terry, me, Flynn.
No, don't fuck with me. No.
The accent is very powerful and strong. It's quite a tricky thing to pull off. How did you go about that?
I spent many hours in Irish bars doing the other thing I liked, which was drinking. So, and really, you know, it's interesting because there's this method thing that you go and do all this research, and it's become such an overused thing now, and there's such bollocks talked about acting, you know, really, and it's always say, so, you know, and you sit there for those press junkets, and I always get asked the question, so Gary, what research did you do for this movie? And you know, you're in an action thriller, you know, and you go, well, I read the script, you know.
Somebody's hands!
You scared?
Hands the fuck!
All right, hands up.
Put them back. They're in. All right? You're a sick pup.
I like this performance. So I'm fond of this film because I think, I believe that my screen acting probably doesn't get, I would think Oswald's a close second.
I don't know what the situation is about. Nobody has told me anything except that I'm accused of murdering a policeman, and I do request someone to come forward to give me legal assistance.
What did you do in Russia? And what happened to your eye?
The great Stella Adler quote, which I love, is that read out, don't read in. You know, it's all there. It's called Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Look at the title, tells you. It's called Death of a Salesman, this play. You know, and I've never been, although my reputation is this sort of crazy guy who does all this method acting, I very rarely go beyond the parameters of the text.
In 1992, Gary Oldman took on one of his most challenging roles.
I didn't hear you come in.
Take care how you cut yourself. It is more dangerous than you think.
I didn't have a need to play Dracula. It wasn't an ambition of mine. To play Dracula for Francis Ford Coppola, who is the man that made The Godfathers, the man that made Apocalypse Now, the man who made The Conversation, The Outsiders, you know, that to me was interesting.
Gary Oldman is consumed as an actor, consumed by some passion of his own, which is interesting to watch.
Perhaps you should grow a beard.
He is multi-talented, has a great genius and flair for creativity, and I saw it in him as an actor when he was desperately trying to direct himself because he wasn't getting anything from his director in the Dracula movie. They weren't very pleasant rehearsals.
There's a lot of things. We made something that was like that. We've made it like that. So now we got to play it.
Coppola wouldn't let him function. And there was one day when Gary decided to take on Francis Coppola. And having been a brawler myself, I could see the problems as they were coming, and I tried to drag him away. I did. I said, but Gary, leave it. Leave it.
It's called Dracula. I'm Dracula. So, you know, I had a vested interest in this.
And I sort of say, with all the lines or without all the lines, I'm giving you a chance to kind of play all this stuff.
I know that, Francis. But it's like you're saying in the last scene where we're in the bed making love and I have a bit of dialogue and then I cut my chest and you suck it so it'll be all right on the day. I mean, I'm saying I can't just wing it. I can't just kind of come in here and wing it with it.
No, he's a rebel. He's on fire. He's a destructive, crazy man, and I think you have to have that to become a great actor, as long as you can control that craziness and not let it destroy you.
I've always imagined myself as a sort of rather sweet chap from South London who wouldn't hurt a fly.
Stop this! Stop this!
And indeed, I wouldn't. But I worked with Winona Ryder, and she said, "God, man," she said, "you're intense." And I was rather shocked by that, a little offended. And I guess it's, you know, it's something that I have, and when directors cast you, they buy into the package. That's what they want. I want that. They see it and say, I want that product in this character in my movie.
Because of this perceived intensity, Oldman has played more than his fair share of villains and psychopaths.
Over! You've got to walk up and down the street every fucking night. And you're going to see me everywhere. And I don't like seeing people who let me down because it gets me mad! So you're in. Both of you! Right up the pointed end. Must be a group pressure, that is. It's a real bastard.
I don't think an actor has to be a psychopath to play a psychopath.
I think they've really got to have the technique to do whatever the part demands. As far as Gary is concerned, I think he had a pretty tough beginning. It was a working class background. I don't think he had a terrible family life, but there were certainly terrible things in it. And I think he's able to go a little bit deeper because of all those experiences than a lot of actors who are more classically trained.
Action. Reaction. Now, if you escape action, I lose my job. Reaction. I have a family that I will not be able to provide for! I'm not done, Henry. Now, knowing this information, Henry, can you tell me why you would possibly want to escape and jeopardize my family?
In America, Gary Oldman is regarded as one of the world's great actors, and also as a movie star. If we've had any success in plotting Gary's career, it has been in being able to keep him something of an enigma. The studios are never sure if he's an art house actor or a movie star. The art house people think he's a movie star. You're never sure if you see him play Beethoven or the Scarlet Letter or a terrorist on Air Force One, if he's a leading man, a psychopath, a great actor. I think that stew of being an enigma is the best of all possible things, and that's certainly how he's regarded in America.
As his status as a Hollywood star grew, the tabloid press started to take an interest in his personal life.
She's sure fine looking, man. Why is she something else?
The combination of suddenly earning serious money, that married with drinking, that's quite a volatile cocktail.
I remember him coming to see me, and he would have these rather beautiful women that he was married to, like Uma Thurman and Isabella Rossellini. I mean, and he would give off this air of a sort of rather glamorous bohemian, painful life.
At one time, I flirted with the image that was out there. In a sense, the image that was created. I lived up to it a little bit.
Who's gonna fuck me then?
You've been quite open about your alcoholism, and you talked about hanging around in Irish bars as a way to perfect the American accent. How much were you drinking?
2 bottles of vodka a day. What I was drinking, anything. You know, what I could, anything I could get my hands on. If I couldn't get, my tipple was vodka. But I mean, I would say I could pour it on cornflakes. My joints were stiff and swelling, and I had a tongue that was the colour of this jacket, you know.
You could smell it on him, but it's none of my business. I don't get in the way of anyone's drinking. That's up to them. He used to come into my trailer sometimes and stand there for a few minutes and say, as if he was about to ask me something, and he'd piss off, he'd go away. I didn't know what he was going to ask me. Maybe he needed help, but I couldn't do anything. I know if anyone's drinking, that's up to them.
And there were times when I was up there, you know, in my house in the Beverly Hills, and Doug would come up and visit me, and you know, and I'd say, oh, by the way, can you stop off at that store and, you know, get me a bottle of vodka? If he said to me, well, then I'm not coming, or I'm not going to buy the vodka, I would say, well, I'll get someone else to get it.
I'm not sure that you can help an alcoholic. And I think there's a lot of broken hearts and destroyed families about people wanting and trying to help.
Did you begin to interfere with your performances at all in your work?
Not really. Towards the end, I did a movie, Scarlet Letter, and it really it started to hurt me there, you know. One day I had a speech. I was on the scaffold and I was addressing the sort of townspeople.
If we hang these women, then what have we become?
I couldn't remember a line. It was like I hadn't looked at it. And I started to sort of panic. And at the end of the day, I had to have an earpiece put into my ear, and there was someone, you know, who was reading the lines into my ear. And I had cue cards, I had idiot balls. That woke me up.
I love this woman! I am the father of her child! And in God's eyes, I am her husband!
Was it hard giving up?
Yeah, it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
You still find it hard not to drink?
No. No, it's like, it's poison.
There's a lot of alcohol in nil by mouth. How did nil by mouth come about? Was it difficult to set up and get going?
Yeah.
Nobody, very few people understand.
Well, you've seen the film, so it's a hard sell.
What are you doing? Get the fucking back. Don't do that here. Keep down so no one don't see you.
You see brothers now with babies, pushing seasons they had sown, and the sisters looking crazy.
It's a hard sell to say to people, I want no stars, I'm not going to be in it, I'm not going to compromise on the language. It's a very dark subject. The emotional trajectory of it is a downer. It's a hard sell. And if someone's come in and they've put like $500,000, $1 million at the table, then they can come to the table with their $500,000, $1 million worth and say, you are going back and you're going to reshoot the ending. And so to have freedom, it was expensive.
To avoid having to compromise, Oldman put $2 million of his own money into the movie. You must have known you were taking a considerable commercial risk, and that was, you were going to do it, and that was it.
Yeah. No, I said to Doug, I said, you know, if only 4 people see this, I said I'll to put it on a shelf somewhere and dust it off every couple of years and show it to a bunch of mates.
It seemed to me more of an art house movie, you know, that only a certain type of moviegoer would go and see it. I never ever felt at the time of making it that it would be the commercial success that it ended up being.
Just get in, Mum, will ya? Just get in, I'm dealing with it. I mean, when you go out with your mates. And then when you are indoors, you're pissed out of your brains asleep in front of the fucking television. I'll turn the television off, go out to bed, you follow me up at 3 o'clock in the morning stinking of booze. That's what I get. Either that or you're knocking me about. Well, I'm 30 today, you know, and I feel so fucking old. You know, I'm so tired. You know, and I want to be able to look back and say, yeah, I had a bit of fun, you know, when I'm old, instead of saying everyone fucking felt sorry for me. When that's the life I've got. Do you hear what I'm saying?
I especially like the way the women were written. He's definitely got a different outlook on women. And I do think this is to do with him being brought up by them. You know, I mean, as you know, his dad left when he was 7, I think. So he was brought up in this household full of women.
In fact, one of the major roles in the film is played by Gary's sister Maureen.
It's murder, really, isn't it? God, if they only fucking knew. What a bastard. Cyanide pill will do him good. You're gonna nick him?
Oh, yeah. Well, then it's my turn.
Do you know where you are? Not yet, no.
The British actress Kathy Burke has won the Best Actress Award at the 50th Cannes Film Festival. The prize is for her role as a battered wife in Nil by Mouth, a film directed by Gary Oldman.
For Kathy Burke, receiving the award was in stark contrast to her portrayal of a battered wife in Gary Oldman's savage movie Nil by Mouth.
I would especially like to thank Gary Oldman for being such a wonderful director with us.
And there's no doubt last night's award will now guarantee her international status.
It's such an important prize. I mean, next to the Best Actress at the Oscars, I mean, this has got to be up there with the cream of.
Yeah, but it's an ensemble piece, totally. Do you know what I mean? This is so like to be shared with everybody else that was in the movie.
The film, honoured before a parade of stars on Cannes' 50th anniversary year, is also a triumph for Oldman.
You put at the centre of the film, and I think it's a terrific performance by Ray Winston, but you put at the centre of the film an extraordinary, violent, alcoholic thug, in a way. And we see him knocking people about, including his wife. He's a terrifying figure.
That's true then, is it?
What's true?
He just said you can't fucking stand me!
No, I mean this! I can't stand this all the time!
Fucking what?
No,
Fucking what?
Fucking what?
No!
Where did he come from, that character? Because he's quite a chilling character.
I believe that the sins of the father are visited on the son. And that if we come from a kind of environment, then that is a behaviour. That's the only kind of behaviour that we know. We take everything at that very formative age. We take everything from our parents. You know, they are our role models.
We walked in. He's laying in the bed. He's got tubes up his arms, fucking up his nose, down the back of his gregg. He did look well, you know. Fucking vodka was keeping him alive. Well, I ain't that interested, so I'm having a little mooch about, you know. I've looked above his bed and there's this sign, right? Some weird writing on it, you know. I didn't read too well at the time. I said to my mum, I said, Mum, what's that say? You know, that sign above Daddy's head, right? She said, Nil by Mouth. Oh, fuck me, what's that, a football score, isn't it? Like 1-0, 3-0, 2-0, like a geezer called fucking nil. Yeah. I said, well, what's it mean? She said, means, you know, when I...
Well, it's nothing to eat, then,
yeah? Yeah, nothing down... Yeah, right? And I remembered that day. Because I could have put that on his fucking tombstone, you know? Because I don't remember one kiss, you know, one cuddle, nothing. I mean, plenty went down, not a lot come out, you know, nothing that was any fucking good. And I look at this man that I called Dad, you know, my father, I knew him as Dad, he was my fucking dad, but he wasn't like other kids' dad, you know. It was as if the word itself was enough. And it ain't.
I never met Gary's father, but he was always a ghost in the conversations from early on. You almost felt he was standing behind Gary. Gary talked about him a lot, and I think probably Gary might say that he misses his father a great deal, even today.
He's quite right there, although I don't ever remember talking to Roger. I don't remember talking to Roger about it. Roger's very perceptive, you know. But I did miss him. And I still miss him, and I miss even thinking about him makes me a little upset. I think there are things that I would have liked to have done with him. And in a way, when I have this life, I'm lucky enough to be very grateful that I have this life where, you know, I live in California and I, you know, work in New York and Europe, and I take the Concorde and we go to the Cannes Film Festival, and all this sort of stuff that's just absolutely incredible and a bonus. I think he would have loved all of that.
Gina, come on.
I've had good times here. I'm having the best time I've ever had. Living here as a dad, a new dad.
I've got a loved one man till I die. Can't help loving that man of mine. Tell me he's lazy, tell me he's slow. Tell me I'm crazy, maybe I know. Can't help loving that man of mine. Since he went away, that's a rainy day. And when he comes back, the day is fine, the sun will shine. He can come home as late as can be. Oh, without him, ain't no home to me. Can't help loving that man of mine.
Very good, Mother. Very good, Mother. Next time, when you muck a word up, I'm going to break a finger, okay?
That was the sun will shine.